The most frustrating technology isn't the kind that breaks. It's the kind that works exactly as designed but somehow makes your life more complicated. A device promises to save you time, and technically it does, but now you're managing updates, troubleshooting connectivity, and navigating interfaces that change without warning. The technology functions. The convenience doesn't materialize. This isn't a technical failure. It's a design problem that emerges from misunderstanding what help actually means. The promise. Convenience became the dominant promise in technology because the basic functionality, problems had been solved. The competitive advantage shifted from making things work to making them effortless. Time scarcity became the defining constraint for middle-class life. People worked longer hours and felt perpetually behind. Technology companies positioned their products as time-saving solutions. Automate the mundane, eliminate the tedious, reclaim your attention for what matters. The economic incentives aligned perfectly. Convenience features justified premium pricing and recurring revenue models. Companies could charge more and build ongoing relationships through subscriptions. Investors rewarded growth in engagement and recurring revenue. This wasn't cynical. The people building these products genuinely believed they were solving real problems. They looked at daily life and saw inefficiency everywhere, manual tasks that could be automated, decisions that could be optimized, friction that could be eliminated. Why it made sense. The logic supporting convenience technology was built on reasonable assumptions. Every previous wave of automation had eliminated tedious work and freed people for more meaningful activities. Washing machines fundamentally changed domestic labor. Calculators made complex calculations accessible to everyone. The pattern seemed clear. Remove effort, gain capability. The efficiency argument was compelling. Humans are inconsistent and forgetful. Automated systems execute the same task the same way every time. If you could define the right behavior once and have it happen automatically, you'd eliminate the cognitive load of remembering and the time cost of execution. The friction reduction model made intuitive sense. Every step in a process represented an opportunity to quit or make an error. Reducing steps should increase success rates. Make things easier and people will do them more reliably and with less stress. Early adoption patterns seem to validate this. People did embrace conveniences when they worked well. Automatic bill payment eliminated missed deadlines. GPS navigation removed the cognitive burden of route planning. Cloud backup protected data without requiring manual intervention. The technical optimism was understandable given rapid improvements in underlying capabilities. Machine learning could recognize patterns. Sensors could detect context and trigger appropriate responses. Network connectivity meant devices could coordinate. The components existed to build systems that could genuinely anticipate needs and act without prompting. The failure pattern. The core failure mechanism involves substitution rather than elimination. Convenience technology promises to remove effort. What it often does instead is move effort to different places and different forms. The original task becomes easier or disappears entirely. New tasks appear. Setup, maintenance, troubleshooting, monitoring, and adaptation to changes. This shift creates a measurement problem. The eliminated effort is visible and easy to quantify. The new effort emerges gradually and distributes across time in ways that are harder to recognize. The total effort might be less, equal, or greater, but the subjective experience often feels more frustrating because the new effort lacks clear boundaries and obvious solutions. Complexity accumulates through interaction effects. Each convenience feature works in isolation. Problems emerge when multiple systems interact or when edge cases appear that designers didn't anticipate. The more automated systems you adopt, the more potential failure points you create. Cognitive load shifts form rather than decreasing. You're no longer thinking about the task itself. You're thinking about whether the automation is working correctly, whether it needs adjustment, whether it's making good decisions on your behalf. This meta-level attention is more taxing because it requires constant vigilance without clear feedback. Understanding and control degrade together. When you perform a task manually, you develop intuition about how it works. When automation handles it, that knowledge never develops or gradually atrophies. This creates dependency and helplessness when the automation fails. Case 1. Subscription-based hardware. What it promised. Eliminate large upfront costs and ensure you always had current equipment through automatic upgrades and continuous software improvements. Why it seemed helpful. Device obsolescence created waste and expense. Ownership meant responsibility for maintenance. Subscriptions addressed these pain points while keeping equipment current without active attention or periodic large purchases. Where friction appeared. Ongoing payments created psychological burden. People felt trapped by subscriptions they could easily exit without losing functionality. Device features became conditional on continued payment. Updates changed interfaces and removed features without user consent. Canceling service sometimes bricked hardware or severely limited its capabilities. Why users disengaged. The value proposition degraded as recurring cost became more salient than convenience. People realized they were paying indefinitely for devices that would have functioned adequately for years without updates. The lack of ownership meant they couldn't keep using equipment that still met their needs. Case 2. Smart TVs and streaming interfaces. Unified access to all content through a single interface, eliminating the need for external devices and simplifying entertainment access across multiple services. Why it seemed helpful. Cable boxes and multiple input devices created genuine annoyance switching sources, managing remotes and navigating different interfaces for different content. Built-in streaming seemed to solve this by integrating everything into one system. Where friction appeared. Interfaces prioritize content promotion over user control. Home screens filled with algorithmic recommendations and sponsored content rather than simple access to what you wanted to watch. Performance degraded over time as hardware aged, but software continued demanding more resources. Updates changed menu structures without notice, forcing you to relearn navigation repeatedly. Advertising infiltrated interfaces you paid for. Why users disengaged. The convenience of integration became the inconvenience of platform control. Simple tasks required navigating screens full of unwanted content. The speed advantage of built-in apps disappeared as hardware aged. People reverted to external devices that gave them more control and better performance. Case 3. Voice assistants. What it promised, hands-free control and natural language interaction with technology. Eliminating the need to navigate interfaces or remember specific commands, just speak naturally and get things done. Why it seemed helpful. Voice control let you interact with devices while cooking, driving, or doing other things with your hands. Speaking felt more natural than typing or tapping through menus, especially for simple requests like setting timers or checking weather. Where friction appeared. Recognition accuracy remained unreliable. The system misheard requests, especially in noisy environments. The natural language promise broke down quickly. You had to learn specific phrasing that wasn't actually natural. Privacy concerns emerged as always-on microphones felt intrusive. The capabilities where shallow voice worked for simple commands but failed for anything complex. Why users disengaged. Voice interaction worked well in specific contexts but poorly as a primary interface. People used it for timers and weather but abandoned it for tasks requiring precision. The social awkwardness of speaking commands allowed in shared spaces limited adoption, and the marginal improvement over just pulling out a phone didn't justify maintaining yet another connected device. Case 4. Password managers and security friction. What it promised, eliminate password fatigue by generating, storing, and auto-filling unique complex passwords for every account, making security effortless while protecting against breaches. Why it seemed helpful. Password reuse represented a genuine security vulnerability, and human memory couldn't handle unique complex passwords for dozens of accounts. Managers solved this by offloading that cognitive burden to software, and autofill meant you didn't even need to copy-paste. Where friction appeared, master passwords became single points of failure that needed to be both memorized and sufficiently complex. Autofill worked inconsistently across websites and apps. Browser and system integration created compatibility issues that occasionally locked users out of accounts at inconvenient times. The security managers provided required trusting a third party with complete access to your digital life. Why users disengaged. The gap between theoretical security and practical usability proved too wide. The system worked smoothly until it didn't, and when it failed, the consequences were severe. Being locked out of the password manager meant being locked out of everything. People returned to simpler but less secure approaches because they preferred distributed risk they could manage. Case 5. Productivity and notification overload. What it promised, keep you connected and informed. ensuring you never missed important information and could respond quickly to time-sensitive matters while staying coordinated with colleagues. Why it seemed helpful. Distributed modern work created genuine coordination challenges. People worked across time zones. Projects involved multiple tools, and delayed responses created bottlenecks. Real-time notifications seemed to solve this by delivering information the moment it became available. Where friction appeared, the notification stream became unmanageable as every app competed for attention. The volume and frequency of alerts overwhelmed the ability to prioritize. The fear of missing something important made it difficult to disable notifications, but leaving them enabled destroyed focus. Each productivity tool added another notification channel, fragmenting attention across multiple systems. Why users disengaged? The attempted solution became worse than the original problem. People spent more time managing productivity tools and responding to notifications than doing actual work. The promised efficiency turned into distraction overhead. Many users eventually disabled notifications entirely or abandoned productivity platforms in favor of simpler communication methods. These cases reveal a consistent pattern. The technology works as designed. The failure is a mismatch between what the design optimizes for and what users actually need. The products optimize for reducing immediate friction in isolated tasks. Users need tools that reduce total lifetime cognitive burden, including setup, maintenance, learning, and adaptation. Removing effort often removes understanding and control in ways that matter more than the eliminated effort. When you do something manually, you develop intuition about how it works and what can go wrong. This knowledge creates resilience. Automation that abstracts away the underlying process also abstracts away that knowledge. The result is capability during normal operation, but helplessness during exceptions. The convenience model assumes that less interaction equals better experience. This holds for truly mundane tasks that require no judgment. It breaks down for tasks embedded in larger contexts where human judgment matters. Automation that makes decisions on your behalf only works if those decisions consistently align with your actual preferences. When they don't, the convenience becomes constraint. The complexity problem is structural. Each convenience feature adds components, dependencies, and potential failure modes. Users adopt multiple convenience systems that now need to interoperate, and the compatibility matrix explodes. The promised simplicity requires increasingly complex infrastructure that someone has to manage, and that someone is often the user. The incentive misalignment matters. Companies that provide convenience technology benefit from engagement, data collection, and recurring revenue. Users benefit from solutions that work reliably and stay out of the way. These goals sometimes align but often diverge. Features get added because they generate metrics or revenue rather than because they solve user problems. What actually works? The approaches that succeed share common characteristics. They provide explicit control rather than assuming what you want. Automation exists as an option rather than a default, and you can easily understand what it's doing and intervene when necessary. Simple tools that do one thing well tend to outlast complex platforms that promise to do everything. The focused tool has clear boundaries, predictable behavior, and low maintenance overhead. When it works, you rely on it. When it doesn't fit your needs, you replace it without extensive migration costs. Optional automation that assists rather than replaces human judgment creates better outcomes. The system suggests or prepares actions but waits for confirmation before executing. This preserves agency and understanding while still reducing effort. Stability matters more than constant improvement for tools people depend on. Interfaces that don't change unexpectedly let users develop muscle memory and reliable workflows. The predictability creates trust that enables dependence. Local control without cloud dependencies reduces complexity and increases resilience. Tools that work without internet connectivity or external services don't introduce coordination overhead or platform risk. You control the updates, the data, and the functionality. Closing reflection. The issue isn't that convenience is bad or that automation doesn't work. It's that convenience is a trade-off rather than an absolute good, and the technology industry has consistently undervalued what gets traded away. Effort isn't just cost, it's also understanding, control, and resilience. Removing it has consequences that aren't visible until you need those things and discover they're gone. The helpful technology that actually helps make specific tasks easier without removing your ability to understand or intervene. It saves time on things that genuinely do and require human judgment while preserving agency for things that do. It reduces friction without creating dependency. What looks helpful in a demonstration often isn't helpful in the accumulated reality of daily use. The individual features work. The integrated experience across all the features across all the devices creates complexity that exceeds the capability of typical users to manage. The promised convenience fragments into dozens of small maintenance tasks that collectively consume more attention than the original problem's consumed effort. The path forward isn't rejecting automation out of principle. It's recognizing that convenience exists on a spectrum and different points suit different tasks and different people. Some automation genuinely improves life. Some creates dependency and fragility while pretending to help. The difference matters, and the technology industry has consistently failed to distinguish between them. The most helpful technology isn't the most convenient technology. It's the technology that matches its level of automation to the actual requirements of the task and the actual capabilities of the user. The industry's insistence that more convenience is always better has created a landscape of products that sound helpful, but often aren't. Recognizing that convenience is a design trade-off rather than a universal benefit would be a start toward building technology that actually serves the people using it.